Okay, so Marc, so nice to meet you. Thank you again for taking the time to chat with us here at Novos today. We measured your pace of aging, which is the gold standard in measuring how fast or slow you age. Essentially, anything above 1 means that you're aging too fast. Anything below 1.0 means that you're aging slower than average, which of course is great. And for you in particular, the score that you received is a 0.65, which is incredible in terms of the rate in which you are aging is very slow. So, I'd love to understand, was this your first time following a longevity specific regimen?
Yeah, what's funny is I my YouTube feed was getting filled, and who knows what was causing that, with all of this content about longevity. Significantly, there was a few videos with David Sinclair, and I actually took the time to watch them. These are not short videos. And I'm a data-driven guy. I've been in software development for pretty much my entire life. Um, and it intrigued me. More so, I would say, I mean, it's a data-driven field, so it doesn't surprise me that it caught my interest. And uh, I've always been interested in feeling good and being healthy. I can honestly say that for my entire life that that hasn't been the case. Previously going through some pretty bad bouts of anxiety, and I guess potentially slightly depression, which really got me on like learning about the human body and the human mind. I could keep going and going and talking about it. What's funny about the test that you're recalling is I would say that my habits maybe weren't the best uh, throughout my entire life for sure, but I started a pretty disciplined regimen in May of 2023. And I believe I took that test about 60 days later of
Mm.
being very stringent on this, which I think is actually a good sign for anybody who may be listening to this. Um, that in that short of a time, I was able to begin slowing my aging to that degree. And in that test, what was not too surprising to me was the fact that my biological age, which I know that this test is not near the gold standard as the Dundon Pace actual aging test, but my biological age was greater than my chronological age, even though my pace of aging had slowed.
Got it. Got it. And we do use the latest generation, the third generation of the Dunedin, excuse me.
Oh, I said it wrong. Say it right for me so I can be educated and not
No, all
ignorant
good,
here.
all good.
Say it
The
again.
Dunedin.
Duedin?
Yeah,
Oh, it's
Dunedin. Yes.
okay.
So
Dundon Pace
you,
sounds so much better. It just rolls off the tongue much easier. Okay, anyway,
oh,
so now that that moment is over,
well, I'd
continue.
actually you started touching upon this a bit, and I'd like to dig just a bit deeper. Can you share more about your background? So before starting this longevity regimen with Novos, what did your lifestyle look like? Like, were you
Well,
really health conscious? It's
yeah.
you weren't necessarily at all times, or maybe not consistently.
Okay, so I'm 46 right now.
Hmm.
Um, I used to smoke tobacco when I was like 18, 19, 20, sometime not through that entire period. I quit doing that. Every once in a while, I would still have a cigarette just because social drinking or things like that. I was only a social drinker.
Hmm.
Not a big fan of alcohol, honestly. Was never just like, oh, I'm going to casually drink every day or every other day, but would do social drinking. Gave that up. Um, did some. I've always been a very healthy weight. I live a fairly active lifestyle, so I'm always busy. I play a lot of tennis, do some resistant training. I was goaltender in ice hockey all the way up through a couple of years ago. And what's funny is that may have played a role in this because I had to actually stop doing it because I could not recover fast enough.
Mm.
So what would happen is I would play, beer league game, say on Tuesday night, and then it would be Thursday, and I'm still feeling the effects of playing on Tuesday, and it became to the point where I'm like, okay, as much as I love the game, this is not worth it. Okay, all that being said, so I've always been a very healthy weight. And then I vaped nicotine a bit, slightly before I started that regiment last year, and then I had quit in between, had vaped a couple of years, say, before that. So I have a very like fidgety, addictive type of personality, I suppose. So that's what I used to satiate that.
Mhm.
So if you ever looked at me, I'm always very good BMI in the like 20 to 21 range.
Mm.
Always looked healthy. Funny thing is that so in 2022, I lost my father to stage 4 lung cancer, and he had smoked for 50 years.
Mm.
Um, but what's funny is I always said what ended up killing my dad was not stage 4 lung cancer. It was his poor diet. And he was type 2 diabetic. He had hypertension. I believe it to be solely because of his diet. I got him to cut out sugar and flour at one point in time when I was on that kick, maybe 7 years ago. And within 2 months, he was off both his type 2 uh, diabetic medicine and his hypertension medicine. It was that quick that his blood pressure dropped and he no longer had elevated glucose levels. But he couldn't maintain it because it's difficult. I'm sure anybody who would be hearing this knows that the number one drug in the world is sugar, and it's presented to us in every form or fashion everywhere you go. It's funny, if I want a snack and I'm on the road and I go to a gas station, there's literally three things in a gas station you can eat if you're paying attention to what you should be eating, because even a lot of the healthy snacks and the nuts and they're cooked in vegetable oils, they're roasted in vegetable oils and this and that. Anyways, that kind of turned me on a bit to this, because again, if you looked at my father, he was not tremendously overweight. People associate metabolic disease with just being fat, and while obviously being overweight, you can expect that there's metabolic disease there, but it doesn't always mean there's metabolic disease. And also, you can look at somebody who appears to be healthy and there for sure can be metabolic disease. And I could keep going on and on and on, but I kind of want to just stop and pause and give you a chance to reflect on what I'm saying if you want to take the conversation in a certain direction.
No, thank you for all that input. That's fantastic to understand that, your health journey and specifically your longevity journey has ebbed and flowed in different ways, but obviously you are equipped with the education and knowledge to understand the different choices that you're faced with on a daily basis. So I'd love to understand a bit more about that longevity regimen of yours. Like, what lifestyle changes did you make? I know that you were referencing diet. And then besides taking Novo supplements, anything different in terms of your lifestyle than before?
Um, so I would say I intermittent fast,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate to say this because I think it's very difficult to do. Even though I had mentioned previously, I have a very addictive personality. I am also have a tremendous amount of willpower. So I do intermittent fast 20 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
and my feeding windows from 3 to 7, and I try my hardest to keep my fructose consumption, well, all sugar, but I really pay attention to fructose consumption, outside of whole foods I try to keep it to 0. Again, it's extremely difficult to do. I'm very active, move a lot every day. I play a lot of tennis, multiple hours of tennis every week. And my supplement regimen is, I would say that the core of it is Novos, but I take a lot of other supplements, including some freeze-dried beef organs and a whole, there's a pile of pills that I take every day. I would say that I wouldn't call it a calorie restricted diet, but obviously if you're not eating sugar and you're not eating starches, and you're only eating for 4 hours, it's very difficult to overfeed yourself, which is a good thing, because I believe in calorie restriction, but not to the point of, I don't want to be malnutrition. So I make it a point to take a lot of supplements. I think I answered all the the
You
question
did. Thank
that
you.
you had there. Yeah.
I'd love to know, obviously you said like a robust amount of supplements. Any other supplements? Like obviously you don't have to go through your entire list, but any others that you just want to reference or share?
Well, I'm big into omega-3s.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I like to consume the data, and it appears that omega-3s are extremely important. Um, it's also been a bit enlightening reviewing information how detrimental omega-6s are to you, and also how prevalent omega-6 oils are in the American diet, probably worldwide diet at this point, but for sure in the American diet. So many foods are, fried or cooked in oil, and of course we go with the cheapest oil that we can use. Especially, that's one of the things that I'm really starting to learn, and it makes sense. I'm a businessman. I'm a serial entrepreneur, outside of being a software developer. Most of my businesses have been in software, but so I understand the dynamics of business, and so I can understand why restaurants and food manufacturers, you want to go with the most cost-effective thing. The price you put on it largely determines its ability to sell, amongst obviously other things. So you go with these cheap oils that are very detrimental to the body and cause a lot of inflammation, and that's one of the things I stay away. I should add, I stay away from omega-6 rich oils. So my supplements, I mean, I'm taking 2,500 milligrams of omega-3s in 2 forms, one of which is cod liver oil.
Mm-hmm.
So and then vitamin D3.
Yep.
I've always called myself a bit of a vampire, which I think has been good for my skin in some regards. It's not that I avoid the sun. I love the feeling of the sun on my skin, but I hate the feeling of being burned,
Yeah.
and the damage that it can do to your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So I supplement D3 and K2, and I'm
I'd
on,
love to
yeah,
also ask,
yep,
as
yep.
we're talking about the way in which you are supplementing and treating your skin, treating your body, since, starting your longevity regimen, you reference that you take both core boost, but also vital, like what notable changes to your body, to your mind, to your appearance have happened since beginning this longevity regimen?
Yeah, I wish I could pinpoint. I would say I get a lot of compliments, and I don't know, so a lot of this has started at the same time, which is not something you're supposed to do if you're attempting to track what is causing the improvement. If you make multiple changes at the same time, you don't know which change is doing it. So I have to preface what I'm about to say with that. So I made these changes, but I get a lot of compliments on my skin. Um, and I don't know which of the things that would be associated with. I also, there's another big thing that I do like to mention, is that I take a lot of potassium, which I think causes a lot of proper hydration. You can't just consume water. Water doesn't actually just readily go into your cells. You need mechanisms to do it. And so I supplement a lot of potassium. And I think, because so if I were to look in the mirror, I would say a lot of what I see in the health of my skin is associated with my skin being very hydrated.
Mhm.
It is worth noting that about 10 years ago, I taught myself all the chemistry, and I formulated through over 1,000 different formulations. I own a company that does personal care products. So
Hmm.
that actually started for me prior to any of the uh, lifestyle changes of being disciplined on what I put in my mouth. Was what do I put on my skin?
Mhm.
And I think that's probably a bit of vanity involved in that, because nobody likes to age, but I'm also like a pretty natural guy. I don't, not into Botox or wanting to do any structural changes to myself. Um, so I'll say that, the products that I use in my hair, my skin, my body are all things that I know where they come from, all from
Mhm.
natural sources. Energy wise, um, so what's funny is I mentioned previously that I was having some bouts with anxiety. I would have these strange feelings in my body that I couldn't explain.
Mhm.
And I'm a ruminator by nature. And so I would just sit there and think about them, like, okay, well, what is that feeling? And what is that feeling? I think today I would boil that down to, and I think, you hear a lot of these diseases like, fibromyalgia, which is kind of like yeah, you feel some pain. We don't know what it is, so we'll just diagnose you with this. And, there's a number of other uh, physical sensations based off of what people consider anxiety. I actually think that that's blood sugar related,
Mhm.
because I know I said I mentioned energy, but I think these are kind of associated. I have almost zero anxiety since I've changed all of this. I'm almost at my year anniversary here in about a week of doing this. I actually can't imagine going back to a life where just to have a can of soda or some sugary treats like Swedish fish or something delicious like that, uh, that to feel the way that I used to feel. Yeah, I have more energy. I sleep better. Cognitive capability is through the roof. I have my focus level is maybe the highest it's been. I have zero physical sensations associated with anxiety or any tingling in my hands, or I would have these things. I'm like, well, what are they? And I think they were just associated with improper nutrition.
Mm. So to that end, Mark, I mean, phenomenal the way in which you were able to, make these changes, which obviously take commitment and dedication and willpower, but you've seen such drastic, impact of those changes within your life. I'd love to ask you at this point, what does quality of life look like to you? And in other words, ultimately, what does longevity mean to you?
I'll give a props to Novos on this one, since, I mean, hey, it is doing an interview with you. Uh, the 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 philosophy that who I don't you don't want to say it so flippant, but who cares how long you live? It's how you feel for however long it is you live.
Mhm.
um I think that matters a lot. It's and I said this back when I was having, when I was not feeling it as well as I feel now, as I'm like, I you kind of get the idea why human life cycle is limited. um and what that may why I say that is like, uh what's the point of living long if you're suffering or not feeling well while you live? It's more about feeling great. So to me, it's if I live a short life that I consider, say, like my father, to 70, if I feel great all the way up to 70, I think that would be better off than living to be 85 and feeling awful for the last 30 years.
Mhm.
So for me, um, yeah, it's not just about living long. It's about feeling good while you live. And I have this thing I like to tell people, because I wish I could find a way to communicate with humans to get on board this journey that I'm on, was
Mhm.
that if I was Thanos and I had the gauntlet and I could snap my fingers, it wouldn't be for all of for half of living things in the universe to die. It would be for people to just exert a little more discipline and effort and energy into making difficult choices that ultimately will benefit you in the end. And that is, pay attention to what you eat, don't eat all the time, enjoy life, do some of the things you want, but don't use that as an excuse to not do what it is that you know that you should do. And you'll wake up one day and be thankful that you did. That would be my finger snap moment.
I love that perspective, as well as the Avenger shout out as well. So you touched a bit upon this, my last question already, so I'll keep it brief, but what would be most important to you if you were able to further slow down your aging, or frankly, you have such a great score today, to continue to maintain that slow pace of aging? Is it having more energy, living as long as possible? I know you just gave some excellent input around, living as well as you can versus living as long as you can, having a younger appearance, preventing or healing diseases, having optimal cognition. What piece of that is most important to you, or are all equally important?
That's a really difficult question. Um,
There are no right
if
answers.
if I yeah, if I try to detach I mean, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's a really good question. And I'm sorry, I'm thinking through, because I want to give you a good answer.
No rush.
I mean, I'm a vain person. I think most people are vain. No, everybody wants to look as good as they can possibly look, but is that the motivating factor? I would say no.
Mhm.
Um, I would not consider myself a hypochondriac. Again, considering myself just like every other human. When we don't feel good, we don't like it, and we want to know why.
Mhm.
What's funny is, I don't consume a lot of healthcare. I actually consider that a good thing, because I'm not a burden to the healthcare system, and
Mhm.
that's largely because I keep myself healthy. But at the same time, I don't want to be disease ridden. I don't know what it is. Like, for some reason, cancer. I think cancer scares everybody, and I think it's due to its hidden thing. If you get strep throat, your throat starts to hurt. You can look at it, and there's visible, and there's a there's a uh, there's things you can do to fix it, right? But anyways, so I think I want to be healthy. I don't care about the concept of living longer. I would say I want to feel good and be vibrant while I'm alive. And I think there's a lot of things left for me to accomplish in this world. So I'd like to be around to do it.
That's a wonderful response. Thank you, Mark. That concludes all the questions that I had. I know that we went a few minutes over as well, so I really appreciate you staying on and answering these questions so thoughtfully as well. So
Reaching out, and thanks for doing the work that you guys do. And good luck uh, fighting against oh, I don't even know how to say it. Do the best that you can to get the information out there to people, and hopefully we all can motivate the rest of society to get on board with this type of journey as well. Thanks for reaching out. I love talking about this stuff. I'm passionate about it, so it was fun.
awesome.
Sorry I was late.
No worries at all. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate
Yep. Yeah. You have a great day.
it. Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye bye.